Hi there, and welcome back to The Foundation Presents. My name is Mike Schramm. I'm your host and a board member for the Foundation for West Hartford Public Schools. Today we're going to talk with two educators about their grant, Growing Some Crops in the West Hartford Public Schools. I hope you enjoy. And now I'd like to welcome on two educators in the Strive post-secondary program, Anna Elfenbaum and Elizabeth Peterson. Anna and Elizabeth, can you tell me a little bit about your grant?
Sure.
Well, our grant was proposed for 2445 Gardens, that's the name of it, to help enhance both the post-secondary and the Strive program within their culinary program.
Okay, so what do these individual gardens look like?
So it's really just a 4-tiered shelving unit, and each unit contains 4 trays of plants, and there's lighting on top, and we water it on our own every 4 days. And I guess because of the lights and the watering system, things grow very, very quickly. So it gives our students the opportunity to go from planting to growing to harvesting and then composting within, 3 weeks total.
Well, we harvest, after we harvest, the plants grow again. So we do 3 harvests, and then after the 3rd harvest, then we compost.
Okay.
So we've done 1 compost already. Next week will be our 3rd harvest for the 2nd growth process, and then so we'll compost again, and then do a 3rd growth.
Okay, so if I have this right in my mind's eye, then there are all these structures and students are growing some of these herbs that we have here,
Correct.
So basil and
cilantro,
And arugula.
Okay.
lettuces. There's 3 different kinds of lettuce.
So all different types of plants, not just a few herbs.
Correct.
Okay, and then you get so much use out of each garden, and then at some point you have to compost and reintroduce new seeds into the
Correct.
cycle?
Correct.
Okay, and I think before we continue on with the grant, we should focus a bit on who the students are who are benefiting from this program. So can you talk a bit about Strive and post-secondary education?
The Strive students are students that can't really function well in big high schools. They have trouble, with too many kids in the classroom or too much noise, going from one class to another. So at Strive, it's a smaller program for the high school students, and it's more of a explicit, direct instruction. We have kids with different cognitive levels, but we're able to meet their needs because it's a smaller class load. So that's the Strive program.
And the post-secondary program is for students with disabilities ages 18 to 21. So our program is really geared towards vocational activities of daily living, functioning in the community, functional academics to teach them how to balance a checkbook or how to go to the grocery store, how to work successfully in a different work site. So those kids have graduated from high school and then they stick around for a couple more years to get some additional skills. So.
Well, it sounds like sort of the structure that's in place with this program would be a really good thing for the students who are involved, no? So can you tell me a bit about your students and how they first received the project and sort of how they feel about it now?
For Strive, we had to introduce a new class, an elective, because it's mostly their core classes that they have there. We didn't have too many electives. So this year we introduced a culinary class, which helps them get a Safe Serve certification. Perfect for our students for the future. Hands-on, food, everybody loves food, they like to cook. So it was a perfect program for our students. And then Anna brought the grant to my attention with growing, the herbs and the lettuce and everything. So it just acted with each other perfectly. We were not quite sure how our students would react to it, but now they love it. They really, treat it like their baby. Does it need to be watered? Are we going to harvest? When can we have the lettuce? And then when we do, everybody within the school is like, oh my God, that smell is amazing when we're cutting the basil or the cilantro or the arugula.
I also think that they're introduced to these new foods. Like they might have not seen that kind of that very leafy,
Yeah.
different colored lettuce before. They haven't had arugula, so it's
Right,
also introducing
right,
them to
right.
just a new
Or they've
palate.
had it, but they didn't know what it was, you know. So like basil, they're like, oh, that's what that is, you know. And most of the students know what the cilantro is because it's a heavier scent than the basil. But they just love it. They really enjoy doing it, and they enjoy the cooking aspect of, you know, the class, because there's also academics to it, so they can learn, you know, how to prepare food safely, how to, you know, wash your hands, and, you know, the general basics and all that. But they love the gardening, you know, because they can see it. They can, they can see the lettuce grow. They can see the basil grow, you know, and they really, you know, they'll say, is it harvest time yet? Or, you know, do we need to water? So it's great to see them get involved in that.
And so this sounds like it's not some big automated system whereby the plants are being watered at a scheduled time. This is students taking care of these
Yes.
plants from planting the seeds to harvesting them.
Yes.
Okay.
We have giant calendars in the room. It's very.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Yes,
On-
today
on
is
a
the day
whiteboard.
that we harvest. Today is
Yes.
the day that we water. It's very structured and very hands-on. There's the only automation. I don't think
Are
there
the
is.
lights.
Even the lights we raise ourselves.
Right.
They pull
But the
them
lights
in.
are on a time schedule.
that's
Like they're
the
on for
automation.
15 hours, off for 9. So they're on a time schedule.
Okay. And I have to imagine that some exposure to healthy foods of this sort is going to be beneficial for really any student. Just associating healthy foods with good habits and a general feeling of positivity and well-being. Are you seeing students take a more active interest in actually eating the stuff that they're growing?
Oh, yeah. Have you seen any of the post-secondary?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pride, and you know, they come back. There's so much lettuce. There's just the bounty is kind of unbelievable. So they'll show us at the end of the day, look what we made today, or do you want some extra lettuce? They're really, really proud of it, and I think they're proud to take it home and show their parents and really talk about the process that they've been through with it.
Yeah.
The other piece of it is that we're selling the bounty.
Okay, tell me more about
within our
that.
program. So we have a flyer, and teachers can order herbs or the lettuces, and so the students are collecting money, they're making change, they're delivering. So all those pieces are creating almost like a marketing piece as well. And they're really proud of that too.
Yeah.
So what's been the broader community response? Obviously your students are pretty thrilled about this. You both seem to be very energized about this. Are you hearing things from parents or from other folks who are involved in the community?
One of my students, when we harvested 2 weeks ago, we harvested a lot of basil. So he asked me if he could have a recipe for pesto. So I gave him the recipe, and he sent me a picture. He had gone home and made a chicken pesto pizza. So he sent me the picture. And then another parent emailed me and said how wonderful it was. You know, her son, you know, he interacted with the other students, and he didn't know what basil was. He's been eating it his whole life, but didn't know what it was. So now he knows what it is. And he wanted the fresh basil in his pasta that night. And she said he was just so excited. He couldn't stop telling, the family about it. Another few of my other students, their parents were just like, they couldn't believe how fresh and tasty the lettuce and the basil and the cilantro was. They were just amazed. And one of the girls said, my mother's so proud of me. It's just, and to see that from the students, it's great. I mean, it really warms your heart. It really does. So
That is very sweet. And this is not happening within the actual confines of West Hartford Public Schools physical spaces, right? This is at the American School for the Deaf campus?
So-
where we're located.
Right, our
yes.
programs take place on the campus of the American School for the Deaf.
Okay.
So we're there in our little island of the world.
And it's in a classroom,
Yeah,
like
it's
an
in a
empty
in a
classroom.
Okay.
But we now call it the garden rooms.
Of course,
'Cause
of course.
what
That's how they're
yeah,
functioning, so you might as well.
exactly.
And you're growing all this lettuce and these herbs. What happens to them? Are you giving them away to the community? Do you sell them? Do the students take them home?
So right now it's staying within the program. So it's staying within the program for our culinary program. So some of the Strive students are involved in this piece of the program are also in our culinary program where they're learning the safe serve is that Safe
Yep.
Serve?
Yep. Safe Serve
certification. So they're using it to cook during the week of a harvest, and then our post-secondary students are taking the rest of it and selling it again within the program. So it hasn't really left, but I think it also helps us to think about, especially for our post-secondary students, when we're looking for micro businesses for them to be involved with, it helps us to learn about how we can start a micro business and then get it, step by step outside of our island on the School for the Deaf campus and move out into the community.
It certainly seems like if you're teaching all of these real world skills, and certainly any sort of culinary preparation is one thing, but the management of these plants and sort of the care that needs to go into them and the patience in waiting for them to grow, I have to imagine that those are really invaluable skills. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're seeing from your students in that regard?
Well, my students, they know that we water every Monday and Thursday. So they would come in and say, do the plants need to be watered? And we had, the post-secondary was more into the harvest and the sell of it, in the beginning. Now they're starting to get into where, they're watering it one day a week and Strive's watering it one day a week. They care for they want to see them do well. Like they'll go in there, they'll ask to go in there to see how are the plants doing? Are they dry? Are they getting moldy on top? Are we overwatering them? Are we underwatering them? So their emotions towards the plants is, it's really nice to see that, that they are vested in this. And they know that they're going to get compliments from other students when they smell the basil, that they smell the arugula as we're harvesting it. The Strive students had made a big chicken salad and came to lunch with the Strive program and served it, and the kids were loving it. So they were, they had a very good sense of pride, thinking, wow, I did that. I grew this. I made the chicken. I made the salad. So
we were talking earlier about the benefits of just kind of the nuts and bolts of, we plant, they grow, we'd harvest. It's nutritional. It's organic. That's great. But all those other benefits are kind of the the unintended great consequences of the program. These kids really feel a sense of pride and confidence and empathy, and so it's doing all this other stuff that is, I don't know if it's better, but it's really, I think, exciting for us to see how it's benefiting students in the ways other than we knew it would benefit them.
I feel like I have a fairly privileged position within the foundation in that I'm a part of a much larger group that makes the decisions on which grants get funding and which grants don't. I am the only person who gets to sit in this chair and then hear firsthand what these grants are actually doing. And I think that this grant in particular really strikes a chord with me because it's certainly teaching students really valuable skills that they can then transplant later in life, but it's also engaging a community in a real holistic way. And I think that is something that's very difficult to measure, but really valuable. And it sounds like you're seeing that when your students care about what's going on, and it's not just they care about it because of whatever sort of personal stakes they have in it, but because it's a larger community thing that is happening. And that is sort of the work that we want to foster as much as possible.
Right. Because it's helping them to see other aspects to life, especially when they leave, because we're high school students, it's juniors and seniors that are in this class, and there's other things that they can do when they graduate. They don't just have to work at a McDonald's. They don't just have to work at a Burger King. Now they have gardening skills. So they can go to, one of the students was saying that there's so many gardeners in the West Hartford area, which there is. I'm not quite sure of some of the names, but they're like, we can go get a job there now. And I said, you absolutely can go try.
Like a greenhouse or nurseries.
Nurseries. And, so it's expanding their thoughts too on what they can do for the future.
Right. And one of the things that we do is we work on their resumes and their cover letters in this program. So I hadn't thought of it until now, but when we're developing their resumes with them, we talk about related classes that they've taken. And
this sounds like the perfect opportunity to build out a resume.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I think certainly every student who's coming through the West Hartford Public Schools deserves to be able to go on to pursue whatever it is that they would like to after they graduate. And if we're helping open up new possibilities for these students, then that sounds wonderful to me. And I'm so excited that you two are involved in this program. As we're sort of running low on time, I'm curious what other interactions you may have had with the foundation.
Well, when I first started at Strive, the equipment, the technology equipment was old school, very old. So I contacted Sherry Fineglass and asked her if she could help me write a grant. And she did. She was absolutely wonderful. And she said, you know, this is what you need to do. And since then, we've been writing grants every year. So we've gotten all the technology for the Strive students upgraded. You know, a lot of them have laptops. They don't take them home with them, but they each have a laptop that they can use within the school. Our computer systems are upgraded. So we got stand desks. That's where they can stand. If we have students who are too antsy to sit, they can, you know, stand at the stand-up desks. And it's been great. I mean, Sherry's been absolutely wonderful. You know, suggesting, like she suggested this grant that we do. So I've been with them for about 10 years now. I've been working with the foundation, and it's been wonderful. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about.
So I received a grant when I was working with the high school. So I received a grant with the help of the teachers at Hall High School. So they now have a kind of a pre-vocational activity program where they're creating greeting cards and really nice kind of doodads for different holidays that they're selling within the school. So those kids are learning pre-vocational skills. And the other thing is, I wasn't involved in the receiving of the grant, but the foundation has funded this wind tunnel greenhouse at our farm in Bloomfield. And we have students there every day working in the greenhouse.
That's wonderful.
And the greenhouse is huge. We have a large portion of it that is ours to use, and we work really closely with the staff at our farm. And although I wasn't involved in the receiving of the funding, I'm really involved every day in our students working there. And so they're kind of doing this same gardening work, but on such a different scale and at a different pace. And seeing those students come back with such pride in what they're doing and going out there and visiting it's amazing. And again, we're starting to have a conversation now with, well, we're doing that there. What else can we be doing at the farm to provide more opportunities for not only the post-secondary students, but the Strive students?
Wow.
So.
Well, I love hearing about all these initiatives. I'm grateful for the two of you and the work that you do for West Hartford Public School students every day.
Well, we are grateful to the foundation.
Yes, we are, for allowing us to help,
really.
help the students in such ways. The foundation is wonderful.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you.
Well, folks, that's all we've time for today. If you'd like to learn more about this grant or any other initiatives the foundation engages in, please visit fwhps.org.